second kidney transplant of Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has been successful, and the doctors involved in the transplant surgery have informed that the Prime Minister's newly transplanted kidney has been working normally. Prime Minister Oli's niece Samiksha Sangrola donated her kidney to him. Prime Minister Oli is likely to be discharged from the hospital within a week, provided his normal recovery. Good morning, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha, and these are the headlines of the hour. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's second kidney transplant performed successfully. Doctors say the Prime Minister's new kidney functioning normally. NCP leader Bamdev Gautam's hope to become the National Assembly thwarted due to Prime Minister Oli's objection, party secretariat's decision in limbo. Up to 22 billion rupees of the government expenditure failed to show up in the banking system, suspected of being spent in the share market and cooperatives. And Manchester City, Leicester City and Norwich City advance to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Tottenham Hotspur crashes out. Let's begin with the national political updates. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has successfully undergone a second kidney transplant. The transplant surgery was held at the capital's Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital yesterday. According to Dr. Premraj Gyawali, who led the special team of doctors, the Prime Minister's newly transplanted kidney has begun working normally. Various high-ranking government officials, along with political leaders, reached the hospital yesterday during the Prime Minister's transplant surgery. Special security provisions have been arranged at the hospital premises for the Premier, who will be kept at the hospital's post-operative ward for some time. According to the doctors, Premier Oli will be discharged from the hospital within a week, depending upon his health progress. The Premier was admitted at the hospital on Monday for the kidney transplant. Meanwhile, the health condition of the kidney donor, Samiksha Sangrola, who is also the Premier's niece, has been reported normal. Premier Oli had his first kidney transplanted at the Apollo Hospital in Delhi, India, back in 2007. However, had to undergo the second transplantation after the kidney stopped functioning properly. Meanwhile, ahead of the surgery, questions were rife on where the Premier would opt to undergo the treatment, as there is a trend of high-ranking officials and heads of state traveling abroad for medical treatments. It cannot be denied that the Prime Minister's choice to undergo the transplant surgery in Nepal itself has conveyed a positive message among the general public regarding the country's medical facilities. Prime Minister Oli is the 11th person to undergo kidney transplant at the Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital. The hospital has carried out kidney transplant for as many as 5 times on a single person. 18 new lawmakers were sworn in for the National Assembly yesterday. 16 of the newly appointed lawmakers are from the ruling Nepal Communist Party and the remaining 2 from the Rashtriya Janata Party. Likewise, the ruling party leader Narankaji Shrestha, who was defeated from Gorkha in the House of Representatives elections 2 years ago, has also made it to the National Assembly. Shrestha was defeated by the then Naya Sakti Party's candidate Baburam Bhattrai. One among the 19 National Assembly members whose tenure in the office ended on Tuesday is to be nominated by the President on the government's recommendation. The cabinet, however, has so far failed to make any nomination in this regard due to the intra-party dispute within the ruling Nepal Communist Party. Leader of the ruling Nepal Communist Party, Bamdev Gautam, repeatedly tried to secure parliamentary position after being defeated in the general elections 2 years back, but to no avail. His recent attempt to make it to the government leadership through the National Assembly has yet again been thwarted. 18 lawmakers elected through the by-elections held on 23rd of January have been sworn in as the National Assembly members. Gautam's hopes of making it to the National Assembly through the President's nomination has failed to materialize following objections from Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli. Gautam's expectation is not likely to be fulfilled, at least until Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resumes his regular duties. Gautam's aspiration of making it to the National Assembly would largely depend on the power equation within the ruling party, as it is not clear yet if majority of the Secretariat members would continue to stand in favor of Gautam's personal ambitions. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Oli has given continuity to Yuvraj Khattiwada as the Finance Minister. Khattiwada will continue his position for 6 more months if he fails to secure the status of a lawmaker. Finance Minister Khattiwada will unveil a new annual budget during his extended tenure. Yuvraj Khattiwada, who had resigned from the post of Finance Minister, was again sworn in for the same position yesterday. President Bidya Devi Bhandari administered the oath of office in secrecy to reappoint Minister Khattiwada yesterday afternoon at Shital Niwas in Maharajganj. Minister Khattiwada has been given additional portfolio of the Communication Ministry along with the Finance Ministry. Minister Khattiwada tendered his resignation on Wednesday, on the day his 2-year term as the National Assembly member ended. However, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli reappointed him. Minister Khattiwada nonetheless has been appointed outside the National Assembly. His tenure as the Finance Minister would last for another 6 months. If he is nominated as a member of either of the House, his tenure will be extended. The seat at the upper house is now vacant despite his appointment as a minister. We'll take a short break here. We have more news coming up. Welcome back. The government expenditure reached 74 billion rupees by the last week of the month of February, among which only 27 billion rupees has been deposited in the banking system. The whereabouts of the remaining amount is still unknown. Banks are seeking more deposits following the increment of the government expenditure. Not only banks, the regulatory body Nepal Rashtra Bank has also been putting forth the same logic. However, the government expenditure has not been seen in the banking system. Banks recorded increase in deposits by merely 11 billion rupees by 1st of March. Nonetheless, the government has spent 74.13 billion rupees from mid-February till date. Among the spent amount, only 24.99 billion rupees has been deposited in the government's account as a revenue. While 11 billion rupees has been deposited in the banks, the bank credit has increased by 16 billion rupees, which shows that 22 billion rupees is still missing from the banking system. Experts have opined that these amounts could have either been invested in the stock market or deposited in the cooperatives. The stock market index had surged by 100 points during the last 2 weeks. Many experts have suspected that the businessmen might have invested money in the stock market as trading with China has come to a standstill due to the coronavirus outbreak. The transaction amount exceeding to 4.84 billion rupees in a single day in shares shows that huge amount of investment has been injected in the stock market in recent days. Depositors have shifted their money to the shares rather than depositing in the banks with a declining interest rate. Increment in the share market is a good sign of prosperous economy. However, the commercial banks are supposed to attract the deposits following the recent amendment of the monetary policy by Nepal Rashtra Bank to expand the credit limit. At least 4 people have died and 26 others injured in a bus accident in Gairi Panjang of Makwanpur Gadi Rural Municipality last night. 3 of the deceased have been identified as Sombadur Rumba, Sombadur Moktan and Suraj Lo of Sukaura of Makwanpur Gadi Rural Municipality. The local police have not yet been able to identify the 4th person who died in the accident. 26 others injured in the accident are receiving treatment in Hetauda. The bus was carrying a wedding procession before it met with the accident. Likewise, another person identified as Kiran Rimal, the ward secretary of Ward number 6 of Dharche Rural Municipality, died in a separate jeep accident last night. According to the Lamjung District Police, 7 others, including the vice chairman of Dharche Rural Municipality, Fulmaya Gurung, were injured in the accident. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked the locals of Morang Sunsari Industrial Corridor what difficulties have they been facing due to industrial pollution. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
केही सिमेन्ट फ्याक्ट्रीहरूले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ एयर पोल्युसनहरू व्यापक भएकोले यसले गर्दाखेरि समयमा पानी नपर्ने त्यसैगरी श्वास प्रश्वासकोमा समस्या हुने केटाकेटीलाई वृद्धहरूलाई चाहिँ श्वास प्रश्वासको समस्या भइरहेको कुराहरू हामीले अहिले अनुभूति गरेको
स्किन प्रब्लम भइरहेछ हैन मान्छेलाई दमाको बिमारीहरू भइरहेछ
फोहोरहरू कसरी व्यवस्थापन गर्ने त्यो उद्योगहरुमा त्यस्तो कन्सेप्टै छैन सबै उद्योगबाट निस्केका धुवा धुलो हामीलाई नै धेरै असर गरेको छ सबैको ठुलो स्वास्थ्य नै हो हैन
त्यसको लागि चाहिँ सरकारले एउटा मापदण्ड बनाएर रोकथामको लागि चाहिँ केही गरेन भने यसले भोलि भयावह रूपमा लिन्छ
We have more news coming up, but right now it's time for another short break. Welcome back. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's the question. What's your take on the local level failing to regulate the school level education? Your options are A, no umbrella law, B, lack of experience, and C, inadequate human resources. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And it's time now for the sports news.
Sports news.
Manchester City, Leicester City, and Norwich City have advanced to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, while Tottenham Hotspur has crashed out. In last night's match, Manchester City defeated Sheffield Wednesday by a solitary goal. The first half ended in a goalless draw, although City put pressure on Sheffield from the start. City had chances to score, but strikes by Nicolas Otamendi and Benjamin Mendy hit the crossbar. Sergio Aguero finally broke the deadlock by scoring in the 53rd minute, which turned out to be the deciding goal of the match, and Manchester City sealed the 1-0 win to book a spot in the quarterfinals. In another match played last night, Leicester City also chalked out a solitary goal win over Birmingham City. Ricardo Pereira scored the only goal of the match in the 82nd minute to send Leicester City to the FA Cup quarterfinals. Leicester will now face Chelsea to advance to the semi-finals. In another pre-quarterfinal match played last night, Norwich City upset Tottenham 3-2 in a penalty shootout as the match ended in a 1-1 draw after regulation time. Jan Vertonghen opened the scoring in the 13th minute to give Tottenham Hotspur an early 1-0 lead. However, Josip Drmic came up with an equalizer for Norwich in the 78th minute to level the match at 1-1. In the penalty shootout, Eric Lamola's spot kick sailed above the crossbar, while penalty kicks by Tori Parrott and Getson Fernandez were saved by Norwich keeper Tim Curl. Norwich City reached the FA Cup quarterfinals for the first time in 28 years. The semi-final matches of the ongoing ICC Women's T20 World Cup are to take place today. England are to face India in the first semi-final, while home team Australia will see South Africa in the second match later today. The first semi-final in Sydney is slated to begin at 9:45 a.m. Nepal time. Cricket fans have taken the match between England and India as a contest between teams with top batting and bowling performances. The T20 Women's World Rankings released by the International Cricket Council yesterday placed India's Safali Verma at the top in batting. Likewise, England's Sophie Alexton was declared the top bowler. The Indian women's cricket team has not yet made it to the finals of the Women's T20 Cricket World Cup yet. However, the team has displayed an outstanding performance so far in the tournament. India won all of their 4 matches in the group stage to book a place in the semi-finals. India had defeated defending champions Australia in their first match. Meanwhile, England made it to the semi-finals as the runners-up in Group B. Sydney's weather can play a crucial role in today's match as the weather forecast has predicted heavy rain in the region. India will automatically advance to the finals if the match is abandoned due to rain. The second semi-final between Australia and South Africa is slated to begin at 1:45 p.m. Nepal time. Australia are without their all-rounder Elise Perry, who withdrew from the tournament following injuries in the match against New Zealand. South Africa have not been able to defeat Australia at the T20 World Cup so far. And it's time now for our special segment, Glorious History.
On 1st of March 1978,
Renowned comic actor and filmmaker Charlie Chaplin's coffin was stolen from a Swiss cemetery. In one of history's most famous cases of body snatching, 2 men stole the corpse of the revered film actor from a cemetery in Swiss village located in the hills above Lake Geneva. Chaplin spent the last years of his life in Switzerland with his 4th wife Una and died on Christmas Day in 1977 at the age of 88. A simple funeral was held 4 days later at the Anglican Church in Vevey, and the body was buried in the local cemetery. 2 months later, the grave was found empty and the coffin missing. Thieves had taken the coffin and were demanding 600,000 Swiss francs for its return. Una Chaplin refused to deal with them, saying, "My husband is in heaven and in my heart." After 11 weeks, the intact coffin was found buried in a cornfield.
And now, before wrapping up, here's a look at the top stories once again. Prime Minister Sharma Oli's second kidney transplant performed successfully. Doctors say the Prime Minister's new kidney functioning normally. NCP leader Bamdev Gautam's hope to become a National Assembly member thwarted due to Prime Minister Oli's objection. Party Secretariat's decision in limbo. Up to 22 billion rupees of the government expenditure failed to show up in the banking system, suspected of being spent in the share market and cooperatives. And Manchester City, Leicester City and Norwich City advance to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Tottenham Hotspur crashes out. And that's all for the moment. Keep watching Kantipur Television HD for more news and entertainment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.